Hello everybody, back again with the latest version of Dogcast. We've got the boss man himself, so this may be our last one, who knows. We've got Kevin Sinfield with us, so thanks for coming on, mate. How are you doing?
Great, thank you.
Good.
Great to be here. I've heard so many good things about this dog. It's a pleasure to be on here.
Oh, I'm sure you have. Right, mate, so we're about 6-7 weeks now since there was any kind of training for us. I would imagine you've probably been busier than usual. So I was lockdown week for you, really. Obviously, trying to manage an organisation and the pandemic that we're in.
Yeah, it's been tough. I think I do feel guilty because I've actually enjoyed being at home with the family. Yeah. I've been furloughed, so in terms of work, that's been really difficult because those relationships and friendships you have with players and staff need to continue, and you need to be there for them. But there's a limit to sort of the work you can do. So, like I said, I feel pretty guilty because it's been good for us as a family. I've got a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, both lads who were homeschooling, who were missing the mates, missing the sports that they play. But for us, it's been like a holiday at home, if that makes sense. So. But yeah, so far so good. Everybody's fit and healthy. As you'll be able to appreciate, keeping in touch with people is really important. Family, friends, and then sort of all our players and staff just touching base, checking everyone's all right, and has been really important for me.
Yeah, and I've got a similar thing. It is strange, and like you say, sometimes you feel bad with everything that's going on, and I've more or less, after the first couple of weeks, I blocked the news out. I stopped watching it because I felt like it was taking over my life and a lot of people who was around me, and that's all we seemed to talk about. But if anything, I would say it, and I feel guilty for saying it, I think it has been a positive for me, and probably the lesson that I've learned from it. I spoke quite a bit about it and appreciating things a lot more, but I just found myself living in the moment in the times that I do struggle during this period of when I've looked forward to something that I'm missing. So whether that be rugby, whether that be going out for a drink with my mates or whatever. But the lesson that I've learned from that is time flies when you're living in the moment, and you find a bit of happiness in the simpler things instead of looking forward or looking back. So I would say for myself also, it has been a bit of a positive, which, like you say, it's a bit strange saying that when the world's going mad outside.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there'll be a lot of people who have used this time really, really well and been able to reflect, been able to appreciate the families and some of the real simple things like you talk about. I know we're all itching to get back to doing some of the things that we really enjoy and we get a lot of satisfaction from. But yeah, I agree. Certainly for us as a family, it's been really positive. And again, I feel guilty because you look at all those people on the front line who are doing everything they can to keep people alive and keep people out of hospitals, and then there's people who have died, and there's families who have been massively affected, and no, it's tough out there.
Yeah, right. Moving on from there, just the timing of this pandemic and the situation we'd been through over the last year or so, or a bit longer since you came in, and a bit previous to that. So there's all the good times that you had at Leeds over them years, and then you coming back to how difficult it's been in this period over 2 years' time, and I've been a part of that as a player, and it has been a tough place to be with that expectation. And I would imagine different people have different opinions. For my opinion, it's I've come to this great club, and we're being poor, we've been really poor. Am I a part of that? And you want to get that, you want to be a part of that success that Leeds have had. And I would imagine from your point of view, it's, I've been a part from all the, what is this place I've come back to? What is so different? And how do we get it back to, and want to get back to those good times? And I feel like, obviously, there was only 5 games in or 6 games in. So us speaking about things is only an opinion, and us judging where it was at the time. But we was getting into a good place, I would think. So how disappointing was the timing of this, and how much what do you think the differences was compared to this group we had this year and the environment that we created compared to when you first came in?
Tough that, Dog. I think what I'll start with is my time at Leeds weren't all a bed of roses. I joined the club in '94 as a 13-year-old, and they had just lost the Challenge Cup final to Wigan.
Yeah.
I actually started in the academy in '97, and it took a couple of years before that famous Wembley win against London Broncos.
Yeah.
And then there was another barren period of a couple of years where, do you know, we didn't win anything, and we were building and we were improving and we were getting better, but we weren't really challenging. So what came took a couple of years to build.
Yeah.
It took some time and a lot of hard work and a real focus on putting young lads in and the philosophy of that and working through it. And we did a lot of building. So the disappointment with the coronavirus and when it ended was because the shoots are coming through and we're building.
Yeah.
And I feel very much like sort of those early 2000 years when we had a really hungry group who cared about each other and the environment and the club and wanted to win. And I felt Richard had done a great job as head coach over the last 12 months. And we got hold of some bits that were really good for us. And I thought we were playing well. I was really disappointed after our first home game this year against Hull because I just didn't think it was reflective of how we'd gone about pre-season, where I felt the harmony, the culture, the environment was. It just didn't look right. So I'm getting excited there, Doc.
It's this dog of mine, mate. It's back with its chasing its tail. Bruce, get out! I think it was me. So let me get excited.
Yeah, so it came at a real bad time for us, I think, and our young lads have been fantastic, as you know. Do you know? I think everybody involved really rolled the sleeves up, and we're getting stuck in, and I think that's what I came to understand very, very quickly when I came to Leeds. The fans just want people to give 100% every game, and they understand that you can't win every game. They understand that you're going to have off days, but what they won't accept is a team that doesn't always give its all. And I feel this year, you guys are doing that.
Yeah, and that brings me on to the next bit, really. And we spoke previously. If anyone's not seen this, I spoke to Rich Jaeger on the first episode of Dogcast about the spirit of the Rhino and the ceremony, if that's what you want to call it, that we do, and the burning of things that mean something to us. We can obviously been a part of so many great groups. How special was that for you to watch it, and what was your opinion of it?
Yeah, I think it's really emotional. To watch it, to see people bare their souls, to see people give something of themselves and probably let people in.
Yeah,
I think it's really important. And the minute you let people in, there's a trust that's built.
Yeah,
and I could see that you guys were on a journey, and I took a lot of satisfaction from the work you did in the pre-season in particular, but also sort of the last couple of months of last year. I felt we made some massive strides, and I felt there were some really good shoots of improvement and development in us. But this year, to see us perform in some of the games like we did was really, really good. And to be a part of that spirit of the Rhino, I think it's really special because, you're not a lot of people are exposed to real top level sport and real top level culture and real top level meetings like that. Yep. But when you're involved in them and you see people be completely honest and strip themselves bare, I think it's usually powerful.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I wanted to add to it is it. You can go and play rugby for people and so many different things. So it's good to play for Leeds because of the atmosphere at Leeds and its history. You could say that about Wigan, Warrington. All these clubs have their own things that bring you to the club, and it's a bit of a perk to play for that team, and it has its own unique identity. And I would say that that's probably one thing now that would draw me. Now I've been through that, and say you're making decisions, I want to play for them. That is one of the things, I want to be a part of that because it was so special to do so. And you mentioned earlier about the youth. That was one of my questions, really. How excited are you by that? There is obviously, rightly so, a lot of talk about the likes of Connie, Bala, which is Rob Lewis for everyone who doesn't know, Gailey and Reece Martin, rightly so. But the likes of Harry, Jack Walker, Cam Smith, Mickelai, Tom Holroyd, Callum McClelland, how much do you see in that as what you was part of when you was a bit younger?
Yeah, I think the philosophy of the club since Gary and Paul got it was to try and promote our young players. I reckon it's even more important now for us as a club. I think we absolutely have to get our own players through the system, and whether they play for us, whether they go and play somewhere else, whether they professionally, hopefully, but if they're going back and playing the community game or just become a fan, but leave Leeds Rhinos as a far better person. That is what we're trying to achieve. So actually to have a core group come through that are homegrown, that understand what the club's about right from the start is really, really important to me. And you're right. Having been one of those myself, I understand and appreciate the value of that, I suppose.
Yeah.
But also, there has always been a sprinkling of world-class talent. You mentioned a few there. The club have always said that, your Awal TTs, your Jamie Peacock, who was brought in, I know he stayed, and he's one of our own, but actually he came from Bradford. Your Gareth Ellis's, Clinton Tupy, Brent Webb's, the list is endless of world-class players that came and added to a group of homegrown. And you mentioned a number of players there who have been outstanding this year, young players who will continue to get better and better. And when you look through the age of time, the test of sort of young players, and I try and go back through my time as a player there, but certainly now in this role, I look back at the young players who have had an opportunity. There are few and far between the ones who have come in and actually let us down.
Yeah.
There's not many who have.
Yeah. I'd agree with that, mate. And right, just moving on. Obviously, we spoke about the current situation and where we're at as a group. I just wanted to try and push into side of your mentality, really, and your values. Obviously, one of the best leaders that there has. This is me picking you up. Brad Dwyer don't need to pick you up. It's just basically what you've been a part of, the groups that you've been a part of, the groups that you've have been a leader of. So I think I just want to try and tap into that, really. So obviously you started pretty young. I think at 22 when you was first named captain. And I've heard you speak before about how it was a Lancashire trial where you got made captain then, and how important that was for you. Do you think, as your personality, as obviously you get some of that as that's just who you are, but then experiences create you? How much of that is just who you are, and how much has come from experiences over the years, do you think?
First of all, thank you. Really nice thing for you to say. I think sometimes in life you just right place, right time.
Yeah.
And I do believe that. I do believe that things happen for a reason, and you're putting you're given certain experiences because they're there to test you and help you grow and improve. I have to say, from the work that went on with the young players at the club, we just had a great nucleus, a great core of young lads who all had some outstanding leadership qualities. And then you throw in a couple that I mentioned there, your Gaz Ellis, your Jamie Peacock, your Danny Badiris, Willie Porchin. And when I first started at the club, we had some great leaders there already. Barry Mack, who you spoke to yesterday, Yestin Harris. Franny Cummins was always great for me.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time with me as a kid. So just the influence of so many good, positive people who were desperate to win. And I just tried to be myself throughout all of it. Didn't try and please anybody. I had my own way about doing things, but thankfully we had a great group, and I realised time after time that there were better leaders than me for certain situations, and more than happy to let them do it.
And that's one thing that I had TS on. TS came on a couple of weeks ago, and that was one of the big things that TS always pushed. And I don't know if you got some of that from him as well, but he said, because he wasn't the best player, and he's back when he played, so he found out early doors in his career that he needed players around him, and he pushed. And that's one of the things that he pushed for me when I was younger, is I've got to get players around me doing certain things for me to play better. I just wondered if he had some sort of influence on that as well.
Yeah, Smith had a huge influence on me, and I was really lucky with some of the coaches I had, some of the mentors I had as well. But Smithy was there were a couple of things that he gave me. He talked to me a fair bit about reinventing yourself every couple of years, and probably where I started my career to where I finished were two very, very different players. Some of that because the game changed, but some of it because I knew I needed to reinvent myself. And probably at the end, my role in the team was obviously to get us around the field. It was probably more a scrum half than a standoff, and it was to try and get and prize more out of the people around me. That was my job. Understand what situations players wanted to be in. Understand what situations players wanted the ball. Understand when certain players called for the ball, they got it.
Yeah.
And all those little things were part of my psyche. And I always went into games knowing, I had to get us around the field, I had to control our kicking game. But if a Di Maguire, a Brent Webb, or a Rob Burrow needed a ball in a circumstance or an exact situation, I made sure they got it.
Yeah.
And then you go to the line with people like JP, Jamie Jones, Kylie. I knew how they liked it. I knew how they wanted to receive the ball. So the game changed, and I suppose my influence on the game changed. But Smithy certainly, I think he saw the value that the club had so many great leaders, and why would you stick it on one bloke's shoulders? It'd have been daft.
It's interesting for you to speak about that and knowing what people wanted, because when I first came to Leeds, I came from Warrington. Now, I was involved in Warrington when we was probably the best team for 2 or 3 years. Like that team with Mick Monaghan and Breezy and stuff, it was just ridiculous. And I remember coming and think we were back just so confident that we could beat anyone. And I think it was 12 the final that you beat Warrington. They were the best team by far that year, and they were favourites, and then you beat them in the final. And the interesting thing and the exciting thing for me to come to Leeds at that time when I came was I was going to find out what made it so good. What was that secret that they had, and it wasn't apparent to me at first. Ryan Hall, the first meeting I had, Ryan Hall spoke up, and always like being a weirdo, he just spoke about individuality and being yourself, and you spoke about that as well. Not necessarily doing the Rubik's Cube, but just being yourself. And I think over the years of going to dinners and stuff and listening to people speak, not just you, but different people speak, Jones, Rob Burrows and that, I think it's just apparent that it was just everyone was for the team. That was the difference. It was just not necessarily individual brilliance and relying on one person. It was literally knowing what each other was going to do and doing it for each other. And that's the only thing that I can, being involved in that other environment, to then listen to people speak about what that team was like. That's the only difference I can really see that it could have been.
So, do you know what? I thought about this morning a little bit, because I weren't quite sure where the chat would go, but I think the last couple of months have shown me a lot about that team, if you like, that I played in. And I know it changed throughout the years, but I think it's amazing what can be achieved when nobody cares who gets the credit.
Yeah.
And when I look back on my time, we all wanted to win team trophies, but nobody cared who were man of the match. It didn't matter. Yeah. What mattered was we went through it together and we came through. And I'll give you a couple of examples now that I've seen this year in particular. Jamie Jones did his Mammoth Bike Challenge 2 weeks ago. And I know you came on Dog, Brill.
Yeah.
But look at the amount of former Leeds teammates that came on for Jonesy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like... And then if we go back to the start of January, I'm getting goosebumps now, but the Rob Burrow game, the joint Jamie Jones testimonial, that old guard that came out, they were just text messages and bump they came out. We could have put 50 ex-players out there. there were that many who wanted to play, and I know we had to put a limit on it, but the love and respect for Rob, but for each other as well, was massive. And I don't know, it's really hard to replicate that. It takes a group that are really unselfish and don't really care who gets the credit. They just wanted to win together and sharing some great memories. So,
that's it, and obviously that's a lesson that being around all those younger people and boys that we've got to try and create. And I think we've been putting that environment over pre-season. We've been putting certain exercises, and we was doing that for each other. And certainly one thing that I've missed in this is being around the boys. It is not just that change room banter and stuff like that, but it was just a special place to be around, and probably one of the best groups I've been involved in. Just pushing on from that, how difficult, I think you might have answered the question there in what you just answered there, but looking outside in at that group that you had, so you had JP, who's just a bit different to you, he likes a beer, Magsy likes a beer, Bales is loose, Bales is bonkers, Rob's a bit out there, totally different. So all these personalities are so different. You've got Jones, who's some sort of priest. It's just so many different personalities, and how difficult or how easy was that to manage as a group?
You're going to laugh. It was easy.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've watched any of the Michael Jordan documentary.
I've just finished it,
and you look at sort of Jordan, Pippen and Rodman, massively different, but huge respect for each other, understand what each other needs. When it's game time, they come out and play for each other. Yeah. And that's very much what it was like. You're right, I didn't go out a lot. The team weren't massive drinkers, but they would have a beer. I'd go out after a trophy win, but besides that, I very rarely went out. And part of that because I just don't think physically I'd have been able to get ready to train. And part of my leadership, I suppose, was to make sure I rocked up every day in the best shape I could be, and to try and set an example in that way. And I probably missed out on some stuff that, when I look back, I wish I'd have celebrated some things a lot more than I did. But
so is there actually certain moments that you think, no, you wish you'd have made the most of that? Was that just because you're so lost in what's next and what am I doing next?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I certainly wish I'd celebrated a bit more at different times. But then again, I also think, would it have changed things for me?
Yeah.
It's very, very different after a grand final to go out and have a drink than it is a Challenge Cup, because Challenge Cup, you're on within, you can be playing 5 days after, and it is very different. Same with the World Clubs, because it can be 3 or 4 games into your season, and they're hard to celebrate, and rightly so. Some of our boys did, and I was there on the celebration, but I didn't always drink.
Yeah,
because you've seen the film Cool Runnings, haven't you? You're not too young for that,
No, I'm not.
Right, well,
okay.
Yeah, a bit like Sankaran.
Yeah, you're dead, man.
Sorry, yeah. A bit like Darius when he's in the bath. The night before, and they're all in the bar. That's probably a little bit like me, just making sure that I knew our plan inside out. I'd gone through all sort of. It sounds a bit daft, but I got a bit like this as I got a bit older, and I couldn't kick as much. I used to sort of visualise kicks and take photographs of different stadiums we were playing at, and just make sure my prep were really good, because I always thought if I can deliver what the guys need me to deliver for them, they'll get the job done.
Yeah. It sounds as if he was obsessed with it. That's what it sounds like. That's because my next question is. It's so easy to talk about talk about mindset and values and stuff like that, and in team meetings to come up with the right spiel that sounds right, because you've heard it that many times. The difficult thing is to actually live it day in, day out. And my question to you was, where does that motivation come? Because we spoke about it earlier on this. It was the 10-300s that you did more or less every week, wasn't it, in training, to just make sure that you was on. So how did you find that motivation to make them sacrifices, so not drink, so do the extra trainings, to eat well? Was it just come natural to you, or was there some sort of conscious decision that you had to keep going over in your mind to make sure you didn't take the shortcuts?
No, I think for whatever reason, that was part of my makeup.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't allow myself to do it. So, look, I got loads of things wrong, made loads of mistakes, but it was never because I didn't try hard enough or I didn't want something enough. It was because I weren't good enough or someone was better than me. So, and I can live with that.
Yeah.
I grew up I was the youngest of 3 kids. I had an older sister who's 5 years older. I shared a room with my brother who's 3 years older, and we are massively different.
Yeah.
But that upbringing had a huge influence on me. And then my old amateur coach, some of the players, some of my friends growing up had a huge influence. And I suppose, certainly with rugby, I looked at it and I thought, I get one chance at this, and I'm going to try and make the most of it. And I absolutely love playing. That's the thing. I know a lot of ex-players and former players talk about the banter. I miss the banter.
Yeah.
People think I'm dead serious and boring, which I don't mind actually, because I am the majority of the time. But
I'm glad you said that.
But I do miss that banter, and I don't think people ever. The lads appreciated I had that side to me, but it didn't. Sometimes, for whatever reason, the barriers came up and didn't let people truly see some of who I was.
Yeah.
But
if you look back now, if you look in the situation that you're in, you're saying that you missed the crack around the lads, and that's a good question really, is to your role now. Obviously, you're around that same environment. You're not around it every minute of every day, but you're still in the same building. You're still at most training sessions. Is it totally different now because you're more or less in charge, or do you still get some of that from it?
No, I still get some of that from it. The staff are great.
Yeah,
the staff are great. So we do have that banter and jokiness, and there's certain players who, that's still there that I played with who treat me exactly the same, which is brilliant. So I do get that. Plus, I enjoy watching you guys have it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things you guys say has been said 10 years before in a slightly different way.
Yeah. I don't think he was all doing TikToks like Connie, mate. Connie's dancing around with all, doing all sorts, mate. I don't think I couldn't have seen you or JP. To be fair, I seen JP doing one. He did one doing the Joker the other week.
Yeah, JP loves a fancy dress.
Yeah, I've seen that. Right, 2 last questions. So you've said, I've just got this picture of you sat in a bath with pictures, different stadiums around you, focusing about kicking goals at home. So how does it seems like an obsession? Well, it did. And I could imagine that's what it's like, the disappointment of where we've been over the last couple of years. So how do you relax? You're not really a big drinker, you said, and you look after your lifestyle still. You still train really hard. So how does Kev relax?
Family.
Yeah.
Family, and then close friends back home. Yeah. My friends now are the lads I played with right from being 7 and 8. So they're still my good mates. And then obviously with the kids being 15 and 12, they're at different sports. Love watching them play. Love watching them having a crack and giving the best. And then through that, made some more friendships from people from all strange and wonderful careers and lives, and I enjoy mixing with them as well. So I do have a laugh. Yeah. I do have a drink every now and again. Yeah. Because you got to live your life as well. And I was always prepared to sacrifice my time whilst I was a player. Yeah. But I also thought that, when I finish, if I want to have a drink on a Friday night, I'll have one. And there's not many Fridays I do, but I've got that choice now rather than it being, I can't because it'll affect my performance. So a lot of family time. I am pretty chilled. Yeah. I am. I'm just like really simple guy. Don't need any frills around him or around me at all. Just
right. The last question: when are we back playing?
Yeah,
that's the question. Or at least back training.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all waiting for the government announcement on Sunday. Yeah, I think that'll give some indication of what and when things will look like. It was interesting to listen to some of Robert Elston's
I've seen that today.
Interview yesterday. Again, Robert doesn't know. When you listen to Ralph speak as CEO of the RFL, they don't seem to know. So I think at the minute we've all got an eye on what's going on in the NRL.
Yeah.
And if they can plot a path through this, that'd be really interesting to see. Again, the Premier League over here will have a big influence on the timing for us, I believe. I think they'll set the lead on it and set the standard of what it needs to look like. I'm not dodging the question. I'm still hopeful.
Yeah, I don't think there's an answer, is there?
I'm still hopeful the end of June, start of July, the lads will be back in training. But I don't know. I think it all depends on. It sounds horrible talking about, but the death rates, the infection rate, those sort of things. If they continue to come down, I think there's some optimism.
Yep. Well, I think that's a better answer than I expected, mate. So
good.
Melton, and that's us. Thanks very much.
No problem. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers.
You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job.
Well, got to do something, mate. Keep yourself busy, Anna.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks for that, mate.
No problem. You too.